When I used to read comics when I was young, I used to feel that the characters weren't believable, they weren't realistic, because they never had any problems. Their only problem was, how can I catch the bad guy? How can I beat the villain? But I used to think to myself, what about their personal life? What kind of people are they? What do they do when they're not chasing the villain? How do they make their money? Are they successful with members of the other sex? What about their family? Where do they live? And so forth. So I made up my mind, if I do any superhero characters, or indeed any characters, I would like to make them three-dimensional so that the reader can see what kind of lives they live, can see what kind of people they really are, and also can see what problems they have, because we all have problems. Whether we worry about allergy attacks or an ingrown toenail or pimples or anything, everybody has things that concern him or her, that they worry about. So I wanted to give these people, even though they were heroes, I wanted to give them little personal problems to make them more believable, to make them more like me, because I've got plenty of problems. What I tried to do was make supervillains a little bit also more human. For example, Dr. Doom, one of my favorite characters. I loved the idea that he was the king of his own country, and if he came to America, he couldn't be arrested because he had diplomatic immunity. And he always thought he was doing the right thing. I mean, all he wanted to do was conquer the world. Now, if you think about it, you could walk down the street and drop some paper on the sidewalk, and a policeman could say, hey, you've been littering, you mustn't do that or I'll write a ticket. But you could walk over to a policeman and say, officer, I want to conquer the world. That's not a crime. There's nothing he can do. Anybody has the right to try to conquer the world. So I guess maybe I tried to put a little built-in humor in these things also, but I tried to think, if a guy like this existed in real life, what would he be like? He'd probably go and address the United Nations because he's a king, and I had stories where he did that. He went to the United Nations. And again, I tried to have fun with the villains, the same as with the heroes. They were menaces, but I wanted to make them interesting. They weren't just bad guys. I tried to give them a little bit of dimension also. The people who read adventure stories want action, not only in comic books. If you went to a movie and you saw Robin Hood, and he was doing nothing but talking to his merry men all during the movie, you'd walk out. You want to see him fighting with those bows and arrows. If you went to see King Kong, and if King Kong was just sitting eating bananas, you wouldn't. I mean, any adventure story has to have action. It has to have the good guy fighting the bad guy. It has to always look as if the good guy doesn't have a chance. The villain always must seem to have the advantage, must seem to have the edge for some reason, because that makes the reader or the viewer or the audience, if it's a movie, it makes them want to watch and see what's going to happen. How is he going to get out of this? How is he going to beat the villain who seems to be unbeatable? If you make the hero look stronger than the villain, it's not exciting. The villain should always look as if he's going to win. Then you worry about the hero and you want to see how the hero is going to win if he can.